Hey there! Welcome back to another episode of All the Mod 7 to the Sky. I have a problem. I was taking a look at the state of our power system, and I realized that every last drop of power is actually getting used. And it's mostly getting used by this sieving system here, which is actually not even running at full efficiency. So we have a problem. Our power system, as great as it is simply not enough. That means it's time for an upgrade. And no small upgrade. I want to upgrade to the greatest power source in the entire mod pack. We're going to skip right to the endgame power system. But this will be no small feat. We must scale to the mountaintops of modded Minecraft in order to gain the power source in which we seek. But in the end, it will be well worth it. If you're excited to see the greatest power system in this entire mod pack, smash that like button and make sure to subscribe. It's free and it really helps me out. But enough of that. I want to build the fusion reactor from Mechanism. This reactor is incredible. It produces tens of millions of RF per tick, and it does it forever. It runs off of water. It is actually incredible. It's like a miracle reactor. The only problem is that every little bit of it requires polonium. To get polonium, you have to run a Mechanism fission reactor. And this is in every way the opposite of the fusion reactor. The fission reactor can produce some decent power, but it's complex to run. It uses fuel that's hard to manufacture, and it has a risk of exploding. Literally exploding if you do it wrong. Even the fuel itself is just an entire process, because you have to use a centrifuge, and then you have to mix all these things in the infuser, and then you have to have all these other things. In fact, here, I have a diagram that I found on the Mechanism wiki that shows just how complicated it is just to make the fuel for the fission reactor. So this is going to be a huge project. I don't know if we're going to finish this episode, but I'm sure we're going to try. We need a lot more space to get this going. So let's go ahead and make a new platform to work with. To speed things up, I'm going to use our good old friend building gadget. It just places a lot of blocks really fast, and it's going to save me a lot of time. Start off, we'll just dig a hole in this wall over here. And the building gadget will just start placing blocks with incredible speed. Look at how fast I was able to build that platform. Just a few clicks of a button. Next, we can use it to make our little oak borders. And it will save us a lot of time placing blocks. There we go, borders complete. Next, we'll use this tool, the exchanging gadget, to swap out the corner blocks so that they have the correct orientation. Finally, we'll use the exchanging gadget again to add a bit of texture to the cobblestone bits. Now that we have this big old area, it's time to get to work. Let's discuss which machines we're going to need to make the fuel. Luckily, we can make a couple of shortcuts using the materials we get from the sieves, but for the most part, we got to do everything the hard way. We're going to need the following: a centrifuge, 3 chemical infusers, a dissolution chamber, a separator, 2 chemical oxidizers, a pulverizer, a concentrator, and an enrichment chamber. Got it? Good. There's going to be a quiz later. So for these really complicated mechanism systems, I find it's easier to start at the end machine and work our way back to the start. So in this case, we're going to start with the centrifuge. We'll place it down somewhere where we have plenty of space to expand. And then after we get all our machines in place, we'll start putting the cables in, we'll put the upgrades in and all that kind of thing. But first thing is getting the layout nice and good. So for this, you can just use JEI. You can click on the little arrows to pull it open. So we're making the hexafluoride, so we can look at the recipe. And then you can just start to work your ways backwards through the recipe. So we're going to start with the uranium side of things. So we need a chemical infuser. Okay. Now we have a basic layout. We can actually go and probably condense this a little bit. That looks better. Now I can start to plug everything in. So we'll start with the centrifuge, which requires a gas. So we'll use our pressurized tube. Anything that's a gas will get a pressurized tube. Anything that's a fluid will get a mechanical pipe. Anything that's an item, we can use the logistical transporter. And then we'll plug everything in with the universal cable. So let's see, this is 2 gases that go in. So pressurized and pressurized. Some of them, sometimes they won't connect. But that just requires us to change their inputs and outputs, which we can do that in just a second here. This one takes an item in, so we'll put logistical. Gas goes here. These 2 are both going to be input by water, so we have to go get a source of water. There we go. The sink is silly overpowered. It's just infinite water forever. All right, we need some water vapor going down into here. We need some hydrogen going down this way. Oh, that's totally wrong. You can use the configurator to break connections you don't want. I believe this is a gas. Pretty much everything's a gas. There's that, and then this is it's an item. There's 2 more inputs we need for this. We're gonna have to put uranium into here and sulfur into here. A little bit more on that in a second. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also need fluorite for this one. So 3 different inputs. First thing we have to do is go change all these to make sure that the inputs and outputs are in the right directions. You can do that through the little menu over here. Red means input, blue means output, and this little button here will clear them all out. Make sure you're configuring the right type of item. A lot of these have multiple types of items that they can pass through, like items or gases or whatever. So just make sure that you're on the right tab. A lot of people get confused by that. All right, now that everything's connected, we can start to plug everything in. We'll just use these universal cables to make it easy. The centrifuge is annoying. I don't think I can have a cable on top, so we'll just have to connect it around the back or something. Don't forget the flux point to provide power to the whole system. We'll set it to a nice high priority for now. This system's actually quite power hungry, so we're not even going to be able to speed it up all the way. Particularly the centrifuge is super heavy on the power. But we'll get this going as fast as we can because we want a lot of fuel so that we can skip through the fission reactor as quickly as possible. So I think the plan is first we're going to get all the inputs going into everything so that the items all flow. And we'll check that everything's actually flowing through all the way to the centrifuge correctly. And then after that, we'll start to speed up the system using as many upgrades as we can afford to use. I've thought long and hard about this, and I'm pretty sure the easiest way to transfer the items over from the sieving to the fuel creation is going to be with this XNet. XNet's a really powerful mod that lets you transfer lots of items and fluids and gases and everything all in one cable. It's a little bit, well, it's very not straightforward to use. It's like programming a computer. So if you're just doing something that a simple cable can solve, it's probably better to use a simple cable. But since I want to transfer lots of items to lots of different destinations and I only want to use one cable, it's actually really good for transporting the items to the farm, I think. So to start the XNet network, we just got to put down a controller and make sure it has access to power. Then we got to put a connector on each block that we want it to access. So that'll be this one, and then all the ones over here accepting inputs. We can actually route that through the bottom. That'll be really simple and clean, I think. The final step is to plug it all in using this network cable. It has to be a matching color to the connectors. This would be very annoying to do without a jetpack. We can use the facade block to hide this cable that goes through the wall. All right, looks like we're plugged in. Oh, I forgot to plug in the controller. Okay, there we go. So now all the containers show up here on the left. Why doesn't this have power? Right, because all the power is getting used by everything else. We'll just move the controller over here to the high priority side to make it easy. So here's how we're going to do this. So let's say the pulverizer. We need to transfer items, so we'll make an item channel, create. Then into the pulverizer, we will tell it to insert sulfur. In the enrichment chamber, we want to insert uranium ingot. And the dissolution chamber, insert fluorite block. You can do fluorite block or regular fluorite for this, but the fluorite block is just less item transferred. It's a lot easier. Next, we can set these containers to extract, and it'll automatically start extracting the items required for those. And we can tell it to do a stack at a time as well. And the centrifuge is running. We're getting fissile fuel. That means that our item flow is completely correct. All we have to do now is speed up the system using upgrades. We'll start with energy upgrades on all the mechanism machines. Next, I'm going to put 7 speed upgrades into each of the machines that are mechanism, and hopefully that's a sustainable power amount. Each speed upgrade, in addition to making the speed faster, it also dramatically increases the power usage. So we'll just see how this feels. I might bump it to 8 for all of them except the centrifuge, but we'll just look at how the flow works, and then we'll make a determination then. And then, of course, don't forget to upgrade this thermal series machine. Oh, we should probably make a little battery for the fuel. All right, they're filling up with the fissile fuel. Look at this, the power usage. It's spiking at like 100K. I think that's the centrifuge going off. We're already maxing out our power just with this setup how it is. So looks like we're just going to have to deal with these speeds and hope they're enough. Seem to have created about 150 buckets of fissile fuel at this point, which is pretty good. We can start working on the actual reactor now, and we'll just let this process in the meantime. It's time to build the big scary boom boom reactor.
I'm in danger.
Let's hope I get it right the first time. This is an expensive mistake if I don't. I think I mathed it out and I have everything we need here. I'm going to build this to be as fast as it can be using water cooling. Water cooling is less efficient than sodium cooling, but I think I have a really novel, quick and dirty way to get this going quickly. That'll still be fairly efficient. It'll just save me about an hour or two of actual like building and setting up modded stuff. And it'll be pretty interesting, I think, because I don't need to use this for actual power. I'm just going to use it to produce polonium. So I can just trash the outputs, and I have a really interesting way of keeping it cool. So let's just get right into building it. So here it is in all of its blowy uppy scary glory. All that's left is to plug it in and hope that we do it right. We'll start by plugging in the fuel. That's the easy part. Fuel tank filled. Next up is the water input in and the steam output. The steam's super easy. All we're going to do is pump it right into a trash can. Sorted. The water is going to be a little more tricky. To move the water, I want to use a mod called Integrated Dynamics. By utilizing Integrated Dynamics, we should be able to move the fluid into the reactor at, I believe, integer max speed. I don't think there's actually a limit on the, where is it? This thing, the fluid exporter. And since the sink is also unlimited, it should just provide basically infinite water. There's no way this thing would need more water than that. So we're going to need some of this mineral stuff. It's not the hardest in the world to get, but we do need mineral logs. Looks like we can get the saplings by running some leaves through our sieve. Got them. For some reason, this tree requires a 3x3 of dirt below one sapling. Apparently, Ultimine doesn't really work on it either. Normally, when you integrate dynamics, you grind out a whole lot of this stuff, but we don't really need that much. I only need like one cable and one more device, so we'll just grind out a little bit just with the saplings, and then we'll move on. All right, I think these 4 items are all we need to actually get this going at infinite speed. So I'll put a fluid interface on the sink. This means that this is where it's going to draw the water from. We'll put a fluid exporter onto this little input device. We'll plug them in. Notice you can actually put them in the same block space, which is very cool. Then we're going to come here, and okay, Integrated Dynamics is a bit of a complicated mod with a lot of options. We're just going to look at this top option, export all fluids, because that's what we're going to be doing, just exporting water. We don't have to do any filtering. We can use this little plus sign here to change some of the settings, and we can change the fluid transfer rate here to 999999999. Okay. Then if we put this variable card in this slot, it should activate that mode of the device. And look, instantly full of water. Actually instantly. So this should have infinite water to cool itself with forever. The steam should never back up because it's just getting trashed in a trash can that has infinite speeds. Maybe we should upgrade this to the highest tier just in case. That'll do. All that's left now is we have to process the output. The output is this nuclear waste, and if we put it through a solar neutron activator, we can turn it into polonium, which we can then turn into polonium pellets. And this is what we're really after. If memory serves, we're going to have to make 52 of the fusion reactor frame, each of which takes 1 polonium pellet. So we need at least basically a stack of polonium pellets to get ourselves going. Polonium has other uses as well that we're going to want to get into, but for right now, we're just going to focus on getting the fusion reactor up. All right, I think this is everything we need to set up this system, so let's get it set up. Oh, I forgot the radioactive waste barrel. Very important. All right, now we're really ready. All right, I think this covers it. We just have to fill it with some fluorite in here. And the rest of it's ready to go. This will receive crushed fluorite from the crusher. Waste into here. Polonium comes out into here. Got some water. The waste comes out the back to get stored. There's no way to process or delete the waste. You just have to put it in these barrels and wait for it to naturally decay. And the polonium will end up down here. I think that's it. I filled it with fluorite. Fluorite's filling in here. So I think all that's left is to actually turn this on and see if we got the setup correct. It's a lot of prep going into this. I hope it works. All right, here goes nothing. Activating fission reactor. Temperature's good. Not going crazy out of control. Water's keeping up. Increasing to 1 millibucket per tick. Stable. Increasing to 5 millibuckets per tick. Stable. Oh yeah, this water is awesome. Integrated dynamics was definitely the way to go for the water. Increasing rate to 20 millibuckets per tick. Looking good. Nothing's backing up. If the waste backs up over here, it'll back up in here, which will cause it to explode. If this water ever disappears, it'll explode. If this fills up with steam, it will explode. Increasing to 45 millibuckets per tick. Looking good. And finally, let's turn it up all the way. 75 millibuckets per tick. Go. Oh, the steam's backing up. Why is the steam backing up? We'll turn it down. Is this one pipe just not enough? That's honestly surprising that this one pipe isn't enough. No matter, I have turned off the reactor so I can do a little bit of a configuration swap. We'll just add another port. Add another tube. Set it to output coolant. All right. 2 of these going should be plenty. Let's try this again. All the way up to 75 per tick. Oh yeah, that did the trick. Okay. I think this is stable at 75. Look, we've already gotten 19 polonium. It's been like a minute. I'm going to let this run till we have a few stacks of polonium. Then I'll turn it off until we want to use it again to produce antimatter. We've gathered over 4 stacks of polonium, so I think I'm going to turn off the reactor for now, and we'll use it again soon. Sir, this is not a safe place to be. This is a secure facility for a nuclear reactor. They were going to die anyway. There's 2? At this point, I think I'm being invaded. All right. Next up, let's make the fuel for the fusion reactor. Now, this is what we've really been after this whole time. The fusion reactor uses 2 different types of fuel. Deuterium and tritium. The tritium we're going to make with a solar neutron activator out of lithium, which we make out of brine, which is just water, but you have to put it through double thermal evaporator. The deuterium is separated out of heavy water. We can get the heavy water pretty easily just by using a mechanism pump on some water. That's right, you heard me. Both fuel types come from water. Plus, we're actually going to pump some water itself into the reactor. To get this reactor at full speed, we're going to need about 2 thermal evaporators at max size doing tritium and about 10 pumps pumping out deuterium. It's really not that much, considering what we're going to get out of it. This should be all the supplies we need to get the requisite amount of lithium. So let's get started. All right, we got our evaporators set up. They're all at max size. We got a sink providing all the water they'll ever need. Each of them has a resistive heater set to 2000, which will provide all the heat they ever need. So the water comes in, brine flows through into the next one. You can see the lithium's already backed up. Brine gets turned into lithium, ready to be processed. And there's only one more stage to turn this into tritium, and then we're halfway to fueling a fusion reactor. I believe that 1 activator for each will be enough, and they only accept gases, so we'll have to use this condensator to turn the lithium into the gas form of lithium. And there it is, tritium flowing in at super high speeds. All that's left now is to make the deuterium, and then we can build our reactor. I forget exactly how many are needed, so we're going to start by placing 10 pumps. In order to get this heavy water to make the deuterium, each pump is going to require a filter upgrade. Perfect. Now each of them is producing heavy water, ready to be processed. I've piped the heavy water into these separators, and check it out. There it is, the deuterium. The other half of the fuel that we need for the fusion reactor. I am so excited right now. We are officially producing both fuels we need to power the ultimate reactor. I'm going to pop a chemical infuser down here. That'll mix the two types of fuel into the DT fuel. We're not going to actually be pumping it into the fusion reactor in this form, but we need a little bit of this to start the reactor. Remember when I said that all we needed was the fuel that we could build the reactor? Well, I lied. We actually need to build a whole other giant multi-block structure that we don't have space for, plus the reactor itself. I mean, we could build the reactor and turn it on, but we won't be able to utilize the power it produces, so it's not very useful. So we might as well get the big old turbine out of the way. So let's go ahead, expand this platform. We're going to need a lot more space, and then build the turbine. And then we're actually ready for the reactor. So here it is, our full-sized, full-power turbine, ready to generate loads and loads of power for us. If you don't know already, the reactors, what they do is they generate lots of steam, which you put in through this little valve here. It spins the blades, and then on the other side, through the other valve, that's where the power actually comes out, and then we can collect it from there. We're actually ready to go craft and build the fusion generator. Ah, I'm so excited! Make sure to smash that like button if you're as excited as I am. All right, here it is. Look at how beautiful it is. It's all plugged in, ready to go. We have our water for water cooling. We've got both of our fuel types ready to go. Any excess power is pulled out here. And we got our pipe for the steam. That'll come into the turbine. All that's left to do now is ignite it. One does not simply flip an on switch and receive infinite power. And that's where the lasers come in. We're going to combine all these lasers together to create a super powered laser that's going to shoot out and ignite the reactor all at once. We have these laser amplifiers, which is basically just fancy speak for laser combiners. We'll make sure this one's only enabled with redstone. There's the redstone. Now we can start to place the lasers facing inwards. They point into these little openings, and then they all get concentrated through those red dots. Here we are. All the lasers are all pointed in and plugged in. Now we're just waiting for them to charge up enough power to ignite the reactor. This needs to be 400 mega FEs before we can activate. It won't take too long. All right, we have enough power. This is happening. Time to ignite the reactor in 3, 2, 1. So here it is, finally running. finally starting to output tons and tons of power for us. Right now, the reactor is running at the slowest possible rate, and it's already producing 400,000 FE per tick just passively. And the turbine's producing 731,000 FE per tick additionally. Let's just crank up the speed and see what happens. At this point, the fusion reactor is passively producing 10 million FE per tick, and the turbine is producing not that much. What's going on here? TV's backing up. Did they nerf the pressurized tube? They must have nerfed these. One was enough before. Okay, I hooked up another pipe, and that seemed to have done the trick. So let's look at the numbers. Passive generation, 10 million FE per tick. Turbine is also producing 21 million per tick, for a total of 31 million. 31 million RF per tick. We're upgrading from 80,000 to 30 million. It's quite the upgrade. That's basically unlimited. We're not going to run into power issues anytime in the near future, or possibly ever. Next episode, we use the power, and maybe we'll find a way to store it properly. But for now, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode. Ta-ta for now.